I'm Ellis Martin. Join me now for a conversation with Adam Smith, co-founder and vice president of business development for Oroco Resource Corp, a public mineral exploration company trading on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol OCO, and in the U.S. on the OTCQB market under the symbol ORRCF. Oroco is focused on the development of a large copper deposit in the Santo Tomas project in coastal northwest Mexico. Santo Tomas hosts a multi-billion-pound copper resource defined by historical drilling and currently being confirmed by ongoing exploration drilling by Oroco. Copper mineralization at Santo Tomas is located at surface and therefore potentially amenable to low-cost mining methods. It's very well located with respect to the infrastructure that's essential to a large mining operation, and Mexico is among the world's top mining jurisdictions, with laws and trade agreements that protect the rights of mining companies. Since commencing exploration and resource definition at Santo Tomas 3 years ago, Oroco has made a series of rapid advances, and the year ahead is rich with catalysts. These milestones will be achieved against the backdrop of a positive forecast for the price of copper, possibly to historical highs, as a result of dramatic shifts in metal's importance to industrial and consumer markets. Hello, it's me, Ellis Martin, of the Ellis Martin Report. The report has my name on it. I couldn't come up with another name, so apologies about that. I'm chatting here today with Adam Smith, the VP of Corporate Development and co-founder of Oroco Resource Corp. Copper, tons of copper, trading under the symbol OCO on the TSX Venture Exchange and in the U.S. on the OTC ORRCF. I remembered all that. You have tons. I mean, I don't know, a lot of tons, but maybe billions of tons of copper in Mexico with the Santo Tomas project. And you have some really good news for us today, Adam. And where are you, by the way? Where are you, by the way? I'm in glorious Malibu, Zuma Beach. And you are where?
I'm in glorious British Columbia. If I look that way, I can see the Strait of Georgia, now known as the Salish Sea. I'm on a small speck of sand, almost 100 miles north of the city of Vancouver. And as you can tell from my attire, it's sunny here. Beautiful spot. I'm on vacation, but there's a lot going on with Oroco. We've had a very auspicious week, very important week for the company. And I thought you and I could have a little informal summer chat.
That's what we're doing. It's midsummer. We're going to have an informal chat. We're going to talk about copper because that's what we always talk about, Adam. But let's talk about your good news from a very important organization that is covering you right now.
Yeah, that's right, Ellis. A very important milestone in the life of a junior mining company is getting coverage from a major broker. Cantor Fitzgerald published an initial report on Oroco on Monday and announced that they would be initiating coverage on our company. Very pleased with that. It's a big milestone, as I mentioned. I like the conclusions they came to in that report. Securities regulations prevent me from talking about the contents of that report, but investors can find a copy of it, or they can access a copy of it by contacting the analyst, and his contact details can be found on Oroco's website.
Well, I could say one thing about it. Maybe you can't, but I can. I noticed that in that report, they're giving Oroco a buy rating of about $1.50. I don't remember the timeline on that, but you're currently trading in the U.S. at about 53 cents and in Canada at 74 cents. I assume that rating is in U.S. dollars. So there's certainly a potential opportunity in the market to get involved in a big copper project. And that's really, I think, all the world cares about right now is size.
And copper. Copper is the one essential element, one essential metal that will drive our economies for the next century. Goldman Sachs called it the new oil. In an interview this week, the chairman of Rio Tinto, one of the world's biggest mining companies, said that we are ridiculously short of copper as human beings, and we will need to mine as much copper in the next generation as we have in all of human history. So yeah, copper is a big thing. That report from Cantor Fitzgerald acknowledged Oroco's current resource announced just a few months ago of approximately 8.6 billion pounds of copper. That's in excess of $32 billion of metal in the ground. And they gave a range of targets. You mentioned the initial target price, but they gave subsequent targets upon the achievement of certain milestones in the company, like the publication of advanced engineering studies, so-called preliminary economic assessment, and the study passed that pre-feasibility study. So it was a very thorough report. It was 19 pages. I encourage people to read it, download it, get out in the sun, put a hat on, and have a good read.
I noticed it was 19 pages, and I was going to print it out so I'd have it handy, but it's 19 pages. So I didn't print it out because, you can read it online easily.
Yes.
It's your latest news. And when is that preliminary economic assessment, the PEA, going to be done? I've been waiting for it for a while now, Adam.
So in May, we published the results of a very large drill program, over 70 holes, together with 70 historic holes that have been drilled prior to our ownership of the project. Following the publication, following the completion of that resource estimate, we had our team turn its focus to the preliminary economic assessment, which is a study of the economics of this project. It takes into account the capital expenditures required to put it in production, the operating expenditures, current price of copper, price of other inputs, production inputs. And it's basically an A to Z picture of what an operation at Santo Tomas would look like. It's a big study, obviously. I expect it to run into the 300 plus pages. And investors can look for the conclusions to that study sometime between, I would say, September and October.
September and October. And any predictions about the market in general right now? It's been a buying opportunity or an averaging down opportunity for quite some time. What do you think it's going to turn? I'm just asking you as a friend and an expert.
And I'm an expert. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I have been in the capital markets for quite some time. And what I've learned is that when markets are down and down to the point where you say valuations become irrational, they tend to turn and they tend to go upwards. When valuations are high and terms like irrational exuberance apply, what follows is they tend to reverse and go down. Right now, we're in a period where markets for particularly junior miners, commodity-based companies, metal-based companies, have been somewhat irrationally low and disconnected from true valuations. So what tends to follow is they correct upwards. I'm very encouraged by the inflation numbers, the U.S. inflation numbers announced this morning. Very strong drop in inflation, which means the Fed has an opportunity to back off of rate increases. And I believe if they do that, if they reverse that trend, then of course markets follow upwards. There's also a tightening of copper resources or copper inventories in copper warehouses around the world. They're at 15-year lows, and what tends to follow shortages of any material is price corrections upwards. So I'm more optimistic on markets, I think, than some people might be. The recession that has been feared for the last 14 or 16 months has failed to materialize. It continues to fail to materialize. This is, I'll say, with a little bit tongue-in-cheek, this is the worst performing recession in many, many years. So I'm quite optimistic that demand for copper is going to increase as a consequence of things like increased efforts to decarbonize renewable energy, the more rapid than expected uptake of electric cars, for instance. In an interview this week, the chairman of Rio Tinto, fellow Canadian named Dominic Barton, said he had just returned from China and he sees the fundamental growth of China in the medium to long term picking up. The trend of urbanization, the large population, the need to build infrastructure, and of course China's extraordinary efforts at electrification and building renewable energy infrastructure will lead to China continuing in its role as the world's largest consumer of copper. So I'm quite optimistic that what we'll see is a consequence of depleted copper stocks, increased copper demand. China, which Dominic Barton reminded, only came out from under COVID restrictions in the last several months, so they lag behind the rest of us by a year or more. And all those things combined mean that we may have a turnaround coming after many, many months, many, many quarters of doom and gloom.
Well, now's a great time to position yourself if you're looking to get into copper. I might suggest, I can't recommend, but I might suggest you take a look. And the reason why I can't recommend is we're not allowed to do that as journalists and broadcasters, and you can't do it as the principal in a public company. But I suggest that you take a look as a possible investment opportunity in Oroco Resource Corp. Again, trading in Canada on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol OCO, and of the large United States of America under the symbol ORRCF on the OTC. Adam Smith, it's always great to see you, my friend. Have a great, amazing rest of the summer. I expect you're going to be talking with me soon, though, based on results of that PEA.
That's right. Yeah, I look forward to it. Not long to wait. Another big milestone coming in Oroco. So just as I feel optimistic that the world is potentially at a turning point, macroeconomic conditions are potentially at a turning point, I know that Oroco is at a very, very important stage in the development of a very large copper asset. That point between the discovery, the definition of the copper in the ground, and the definition of the economics of a project. So some very big milestones. It's going to be a very big year for Oroco. Already been quite big in what we've announced, and there's a lot of important steps to come. So maybe Oroco and the world economy will both be growing at the same time.
Adam, again, always great to see you. Thanks.
Thanks, Ellis, and thank you for an interview in the sun on the beautiful west coast of North America.
All the best.
Cheers.
I've been speaking with Adam Smith, co-founder and vice president of business development for Oroco Resource Corp. Oroco trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol OCO, and in the U.S. on the OTCQB market under the ticker symbol ORRCF. Go to the company's website, orocoresourcecorp.com. For Adam Smith and Oroco Resource Corp, I'm Ellis Martin.
Subscribe to the Ellis Martin newsletter. It's free. Go to ellismartinreport.com and fill out the quick and easy pop-up form.